Hi everyone, welcome back. We are 1 month into our program, a third of the way through. I hope you're all doing well and you're feeling encouraged and proud of the progress you've made so far. As I discussed last week at length, so I won't spend time repeating all that again, but just to really be patient with yourself. Know that this is a work in progress. Each week is going to get, some of these initial tasks that you're working on are going to get easier. And really with these four corners in place, the fluids, the veggies, the protein, the fats now, you really are going to have such a solid foundation to build on from here. It's going to make the rest of the program so much easier. So before we move on to our fifth week, which is not about food, let's go ahead and review how this last week went on fats. So first, your tasks. Your first task was to actually go through your pantry, clean out any bad fats, rancid fats, replace them with healthier options, come up with a plan as far as which oils you were going to use for which cooking project. So hopefully that went pretty well, pretty smooth. Your second task was to then come up with a plan to include fat at every meal and to maybe even try some new fats, right? To try to mix it up a little bit and rotate through some different healthy fats during the week. And then of course, as always, your last task was to track how you did on your worksheet and to go through and how many days did you actually meet your goal, right? How did your week look? Now, there weren't very many comments about fat this week on the Facebook group, so I'm going to assume that perhaps this week was a little bit easier for everyone. I hope that was the case. As far as the other three, though, hydration, veggies, and protein, there were still some questions coming up in the Facebook group around how to get more veggies in. And I think a lot of that just has to do with some of you, quite frankly, aren't great fans of veggies, and that's not uncommon, right? So I'll just reiterate what I said in the Facebook group, which is that I think that as long as you keep experimenting with veggies, you keep trying new ones, you keep trying different preparation methods, right? You're going to find some that you are more drawn to, that's going to be easier for you to include. You might also want to just to kind of help up the consistency of making sure you're getting enough each day. You might want to just start adding in, kind of the same thing every day. Like maybe you start doing a green smoothie every day or a green juice every day. Or maybe you just make a commitment like I'm always going to add a salad to dinner. So regardless of what I make, what cooked veggie I have with dinner, I'm also going to have a side salad just to add another 1 or 2 servings in, right? Another idea is maybe on the weekend or when you have a little extra time, you make a big pot of veggie soup or a bunch of roasted veggies that then you just have on hand and you can eat on during the week. So I really want you to try to keep it simple, but try to be as consistent as you can so that it really does start to become a new habit for you and it won't be as challenging to stick with the vegetables as we move forward, okay? So this week, we're going to take a break from food, which is good because I want you to have another week just to kind of practice what you've already been working on with these first 4. Get a little bit more solid in your routine, feel a little bit steadier in including these 4 pieces. And while we take a break from food, we are going to work a little bit on moving our bodies more. Okay, so let's go ahead and start talking about movement. Your first task this week is to, as always, read this chapter in your book. So you're going to read the chapter on movement, and then your first task is to figure out how many hours do you actually spend sitting every day, right? How many hours are you sedentary? I went through this exercise, and for me, it was actually quite a lot. This is certainly an area that I have to consciously work on, or it's very easy for me to not move much during the day. So when I went through, figuring this out, basically, I'm sitting at a computer all day, right? So I'm probably sitting about 7 hours a day at my computer, maybe 6 hours on a better day, but let's just say 7. Then maybe another 1 to 2 hours a day of when I'm eating my meals. Another 1 to 2 hours in the evening watching TV, right? I mean, that right there is over 10 hours. Then if I also add in my 8 hours of sleeping, which hopefully I'm getting most nights, that's really only leaving me maybe 5 hours in a 24-hour period where I'm on my feet, moving my body. You can see how easy it is to not be moving enough, right? And I'm not even talking about deliberate exercise here. I'm just really talking about using your body. This is such a big deal in the research world right now. I mean, of course, exercise has been pushed for years and years, and there's a myriad of health benefits that go with exercise. So exercise is still really important. But I'm really this week looking beyond exercise in just how much do you move your body during the day? We're starting to recognize that this is probably as big of a risk factor for health and disease as smoking is. I mean, that's a big deal, right? So the more sedentary you are, even if you do your, let's say, hour at the gym, but if you've got your 10 or more hours a day like me, where you're really on your booty, like I am right now, that is not good. That is not a good predictor for health. So this brings us to our second task, right? Which is, how are we going to try to get more movement in? That's going to be our goal for this week. So first you want to think about how many hours or minutes are you deliberately moving each day. So maybe you're one of the lucky ones and you actually have a job that requires you to be on your feet or to be up and down a lot, moving around, right? So maybe just even from your work, you're going to get a lot more movement than someone like me who's working at their computer all day. Maybe you already have an exercise routine or regime that you follow. So you've got those hours or minutes in your day that, are consistent. So I want you to just kind of think through how much movement minutes do you have a day? And then our third task, right, really the meat of this week, is how do we start shifting that balance more towards movement and less towards sitting, okay? And you can do this several ways. I mean, of course, adding in exercise is a great way to add in movement, but it's not enough, okay? So I think a long-term goal is to have a regular exercise regime, but as a first step, I just want you to move your body more. So I have some ideas here on the slide. I have some ideas in the book. Your task this week is going to brainstorm some ideas of what might work for you in your day, right? But how can you be on your feet more? How can you use your body more? Is it possible for you to work at a standing desk? Is that an option for you? Or maybe you could trade out your chair for an exercise ball so that even while you're working, you're in movement, right? Your muscles and your body are working. One thing that I try to do is maybe while I'm typing, I have to be sitting, but perhaps when I take a phone call, I stand up, right? So that would be a time that I could be on my feet. Another thing that I really try to practice, this is one way that I get my movement minutes up, is I take movement breaks, which basically means for every hour that I'm working, sitting, I take at least 5 to 10 minutes to move. So maybe that's on the hour, on the half hour, however you want to do it so that you remember to take the break. You might even have to set an alarm on your phone initially to remind you. But I get up, maybe I walk to the bathroom. When I was working in the hospital, I would try to find the farthest possible bathroom and walk to that. Maybe take a flight of stairs or two just to kind of add in some more steps. Go fill up my glass with water, maybe do a little bit of stretching, sit back down and work again. Okay, so movement breaks could be really plausible for many of us. Also thinking about, adding in minutes outside of work. So when I was commuting into San Francisco, one of the things I would do is I would park several blocks away. And it would take me about 10 minutes to walk into work and 10 minutes to walk out at the end of the day. So parking farther away was adding some walking steps to my day. Right? Taking the stairs whenever that's an option is another way. Maybe even on the weekend, cleaning your own house, cleaning your car, doing some yard work, right? Using your body. Again, I'm not talking about deliberate exercise. I'm just talking about how can you use your body more and start tipping that balance more towards movement, okay? Less towards sedentary. Your fourth and final task, as always, is just to record that, right? So to use your movement worksheet, map out kind of a plan for yourself. It can be just a rough plan, some ideas of how you're going to up your movement minutes. And then, of course, track each day how you're doing, so that we get a sense by the end of the week if this was an easier task for you or not. And if not, then brainstorming some ideas that might work better for you of how you can try to get more movement in during the day. The important thing is to start wherever you are and gradually increase, okay? So if you're not doing any exercise right now, then start with just upping your movement minutes and just try to use your body more during the day in a natural way, right? If you are already doing some exercise, then it might be a combination of trying to take more movement breaks during the day and also trying to up your exercise regime. The ultimate goal, the long-term goal, the ideal, let's say, would be to move as much as possible during the course of a day and to also have, anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes of deliberate exercise most days of the week. That's not intense exercise, okay? Because intense exercise is actually going to work against you when you're trying to lose weight. There's too many inflammatory factors to intense exercise that actually sort of are counterproductive when we're trying to lose weight. We're talking about mild to moderate exercise where you're getting your heart rate up a little bit, right? You might be sweating a little bit, you're breathing a little bit harder, but you could still absolutely have a conversation with someone if you were exercising with somebody else. So as opposed to doing a run, unless you're already a runner and that's something you like to do, going out for a walk would be completely appropriate. Not to mention that it would add the fact of being outside, right? And getting some fresh air and sunshine and some time in nature, which of course is all going to have other layers of benefit for you. So start where you are, but make the goal be that we're gradually moving towards movement, okay? Towards more movement. Okay, let's wrap that up. So just to review our tasks for this week. Task 1, we're going to spend a little time kind of thinking through how many hours are we actually sitting and sedentary over a given day. How many hours or minutes are we deliberately moving each day? And then ultimately, what is our plan, right? What are some ideas of how we can move our bodies more this week? And tracking your progress on your worksheet, okay? You're still gonna have your food goals, and I really want you to keep them front and center this week. So although we're trying to move our bodies more, we're trying to get some physical movement in, the fluids, the veggies, the protein, and the fats are still totally important and need to be front and center for you, okay? Keep tracking if you need to, if any of them don't feel like second nature yet. And it'll be very important that this kind of starts to feel a little bit more comfortable by the end of this next week, because when we move into week 6, you're really gonna need these 4 pillars in place, okay? So spend this time really working through that as well. As always, check your weight, preferably just once a week, okay? Don't get overzealous with that. And as always, share on Facebook, reach out by email if you need to. We're gonna do our live Q&A in just a couple hours, I think. So hopefully I can also address some questions on that for all of you. And if you miss it, it will be recorded and in our Facebook group, so you can always watch it after the fact. And I think that's it, you guys. Okay, so I hope you have a fabulous week. I hope you move your bodies more. I hope that feels really good to do that. Our bodies were meant to move, right? We were designed to move. We were not designed to sit. So I think as we start to get more comfortable moving more, our bodies are going to thank us for that. Have a wonderful week. Happy moving, everyone.